to the fourth Theory Crafting Thursday. I'm going to talk about opener theory, or basically how I see openers, and would recommend people to look at openers as people that are looking to improve. This is going to be a little more beginner focused. It's also going to be a bit on the shorter, less structured side because I'm kind of doing this one last minute. I had something bigger planned, but I ended up not being super satisfied where it is for me to try and get it out today. I think it'll take a little more time to be ready, but I wanted to get something out because I skipped last week because I was busy, so we got this. So yeah, what is an opener? You can start super basic, beginner focused. It's a pre-planned sequence of pieces at the start of a round. Kind of like a chess opener, I guess. Like you lab out the first few the placements you make. And the main way, or like the theoretical way I look at openers is that they let you play a lot better than you can at any other point in the game. So this makes it especially potent for newer players to use openers, because like that boost is going to be relatively way stronger for a newer player compared to like an X-rank doing an opener. But regardless, no matter what level of play you look at, for the most part, there's outliers obviously, but for the most part, the first 10 to 20 seconds are always going to be higher sending, higher verse score, all that stuff. Yes, first 10 20 seconds, always the craziest. So just quick little more theories, whatever. Like the few different kind of scales you can rate openers by, in my opinion, are power, how much they send for the amount of pieces you place. So like an opener that weighs T, or would be slightly lower in power, I guess, or openers that only do TSDs over TSTs. Obviously PC openers are really big too. Yeah, so all those kinds of things that you can weight. Next is the flexibility, or how easily you can get out of the opener or recover if you misdrop. So certain openers that's like you can kind of really get screwed over if you misdrop. I think like the SCO openers like Haji Spin are kind of hard to get out of if you misdrop. Albatross, which I do, I kind of sometimes misdrops get really yucky. But yeah. The ease of use, how long it will take for you to learn the opener. I feel like not enough people talk about this or consider this when they decide to learn an opener. But yeah, ease of use. So something like PCO, second PC, DPC, it's, yes, very strong, but it's going to take a while for like a new player to pick that up and start using it, right? And that time probably would be better spent elsewhere. And finally is the resulting stack, or how easily you can access garbage after the opener is over. So I think most of the meta openers that people do nowadays are pretty good about this, but like DT Cannon is kind of an outlier, and it's the little TST overhang that gets left over. It can be a little hard to deal with, so just a few different, and I'll go over all the openers that I think are relevant later in this. So next, kind of on a meta level, or like I'm going to talk about how intuitive an opener is, and why we tend to recommend people learn these intuitive quote-unquote openers. So the gold standard, our darling, our god, TKI, which is actually the name of a player. The opener is called TKI 3. Some people even call the C-spin opener TKI. Whatever. Basically, it contains a lot of relevant shapes to the mid game, like this chip tooth. You'll probably see this. You might see this exact shape done if someone's like just doing LST stacking, like this exact shape repeated, like the LZJ, maybe even the right side will be stacked like this, right? Like you could feasibly see someone just do TKI on top of their stack in LS10. You wouldn't really bat an eye. MKO as well, you probably it wouldn't be unfeasible to see someone do this when they're just doing 6-3 stacking. But it's like kind of an event when someone does stick spin right on top of their stack. So like the idea is that you'll be constantly exposed to relevant shapes if you're doing these openers and learning the follow-ups for these openers, whereas you're only really learning stick spin when you do stick spin. So yeah, I'm a little skeptical of that idea. I feel like after a point of like doing an opener so often, the shapes are just so ingrained in your head that every single one of them becomes mechanical. And by mechanical, I mean you're not really using your cue as much to like try out different patterns. You just already have pre-planned out what patterns you're going to be using. But yeah, like that's why we recommend TKI and MKO. I think the main reason. So next, something I think I see a lot of players talk about is how strong openers are like OP, or people kind of brushing off people that think openers are OP, or I don't know. Basically, here's what I think is a balanced take on neutralizing strong openers. So first of all, I think you guys should watch 25Pi25's guide on how to counter 6-spin. I think it's a pretty good, like, it's a nice and short video on like how to counter a popular opener. But I think like more general concepts are basically that you just want to just cancel, or like try and play as defensively as possible throughout that beginning portion of the game, which means ensuring that you're always using your resources to take out as much damage from the game as possible. So the best way to do this is to receive like a clean 4 lines, clean 6 lines, and then just use that garbage to cancel. Another way to do it is obviously just match your opener, the pace of your strong opener, up to your opponent. So if you and your opponent are both doing stick spin, just try and cancel every single attack. Another like side note for PC openers, you're not really using it to cancel. You just need to kind of receive and immediately send it back, because you don't want them to get the next PC. Basically, right? You need to send any kind of garbage on their board. Another thing I think someone said, or I think Cab said Blink used to do this. So 2 levels of separation here, but it's like Hummingbird, or like any kind of opener that just sends a double really quickly before the person can even get off their first PC. And it's a possibility to neutralize a PC opener, but like I don't know about that. Next is finally neutralizing combo. If someone's doing like center 4 wide, 3 wide, 2 wide to you, you should try not to send indiscriminately. I feel like for like 2 wide, you can probably just kind of send at them to make sure they can't build up as high. But I think the general theory is that you want to build up your own attack, or do your own opener, and kind of hold the attack, or like the chained attack, so that you can cancel when they send their spike. So if you can get like a TSD Tetris, or even like just also stack up and get your own like double Tetris ready to cancel off the cheese, that would be ideal. You could even also just do a combo opener and like match them for it. But yeah, regardless, I think the reason that a lot of people get upset over this, or some people even get kind of like, or actually I don't know how exaggerated this is, but it can be really frustrating to receive advice about like neutralizing openers, because what I've laid out here is really simple, right? It's kind of brain dead simple. Like what I've said. It's like 2 sentences. But actually, I said a lot of tangents. But basically, it's just cancel. It's very simple, but it is not easy, right? No matter what, the point of the opener is that it lets you play a lot faster and a lot more, just overall effectively than you would actually be able to in those first 20 seconds of the game. And if your opponent just like happens to be really good at their opener, then they are going to be a challenge, right? All of this is assuming that that you're like mid-game skill, or like your skill to access the garbage can match them doing their speed of doing their opener, right? Like, there's people that like do their openers at like 3 PPS when they play 1 PPS in game, right? Like, it's just hard to deal with, right? It's something that you kind of, it's just a phase of the game that you kind of need to stick through. And honestly, it's worth just learning a strong opener on your own. That's something I'll talk about a little later. So yeah, openers as a crutch, right? They let you play a lot better than at any point in the game. So, why a lot of people choose not to learn strong openers, or like why people make fun of people that learn strong openers, is that they'll eventually hit a wall when that opener isn't really contributing to as many wins, and they'll kind of plateau. And then it becomes really difficult for them to play in TL, because they'll just take some rounds with their opener, and then they won't, if the round goes past the opener, then they'll immediately lose. Or not immediately, but like they just have no shot at winning. But that just kind of means you need to work on better skills, right? So does this mean you shouldn't learn powerful openers? I would argue no, I don't think it means that you shouldn't learn powerful openers. It just means that you need to recognize when you need to work on more skills, right? You just need to like you just need to practice, right? Just going into TL and spamming your opener and winning isn't going to be practicing a lot of the skills. It's fine to do openers, because strong openers, because you want to win, right? I wouldn't fault anyone for doing a powerful opener, but it can really cut into how you're practicing, not necessarily how your overall performance is doing. So what I'll say is that TR is a super rough stat, right? A lot of people go into TL to like practice and get better at the game, but I think TR and just pure win rate isn't amazing to be informative of a lot of like different skills that you're good at, right? Like, you don't know how good you are at. Basically, if you're only doing the opener, it's not. I'm trying to move the perspective away from like you're using the opener as a crutch, and it's more, I think we should view it as like you're not able to practice non-opener skills, right? Your games never go past the opener. This is perfectly fine if you're spending time outside of TL working on other skills, right? I think too often people are just like spamming TL, and they equate TR going up with skill going up, when it's not really that simple. But yeah, that's my take on that. I think there's a lot of hate towards certain openers, but also like equally, I'm trying to phrase it in a way that will help people see, like, people who use strong openers as less malicious, less kind of, and you can see them in a less derivative, like deriding way, and more like, it's just, oh yeah, you're not, it's fine to do this, but you know, you need to make sure to practice other things, right? Because by spamming the opener, you're kind of depriving yourself of good practice, as opposed to like all you care about is winning. We all care about winning, right? We all want to get better. Or if you're watching this video, you probably want to get better. Last is, how many openers do I need to know? Basically, I think everyone should learn one catch-all opener, whether that's PCO, which is kind of the default for the past, at least the past few years I've been playing. But I think more recently, the other TD openers like Gamashiro, MS2 was the big one when Kazu beat Amamiya in the thing. I don't remember how to pronounce it. C-Spin is an opener. I think it's old. You should learn these two probably, or any other TD opener. I don't know, like mountainous stacking, rabbit stacking. They're probably all fine. Any of them are fine. JL openers, DT Cannon, MKO, Submarine. DT Cannon I think is just easy to learn because it's one shape. I don't think it's that intuitive. It's like it does. Yes, you'll see DT occasionally, but it's not really like that useful of a shape, in my opinion. MKO, you'll probably end up wasting T, so it's kind of the same power level as DT Cannon. A little weaker because you only do TSDs. You have a chance to do a PC. It's like okay. I still like doing it. You still see players doing it because it's a very intuitive opener, and it'll help you transition into 6-3 and get better at 6-3. Or at least that's my experience with it. Submarine is a very easy to learn loop opener, provided you can learn DPC. It's just like getting the initial T-spins into the PC is very, very easy, very straightforward. You can probably get up and running with Submarine and just learn like the SZ DPC in like a week if you're dedicated with it. Stick spin, you can like, this is the big one, very easy to learn, very flexible, not flexible, very good resulting stack so that you can immediately counter spike during the opening phase. You also build up that big back-to-back chain. I think Hachi spin and SDPC are very much in the same vein, like early O openers, but they all use the same like SZO base. And finally, our kings, TKI. I was gonna write Jamba TSD and Reliable T. Like, I was gonna write them, but I didn't. I forgot to erase a Jamba TSD. But like, basically, they all look the same, right? Here's like you place an eye down, you start doing regular TSD stacking. Good openers, right? So I think at the very least you need to know a catch-all opener, or you can just kind of freestyle if you really don't know another opener. And then if you want to do another opener, I would recommend doing an early eye opener, and then maybe an SEO opener, and then finally a JL opener. Other openers, like, they're fine as long as they're like decent enough along this scale. And I think that people that want to learn a lot of openers and lab out a lot of openers, more power to them, because there aren't a lot of things that you can really lab out in Tetris, because there's you're not really guaranteed to get certain pieces. There's setups you can kind of lab out, but they're all very like the cooler the setup, or like the more niche the setup, the more situational it is. Openers are kind of the one thing where you can go really in depth with labbing. So you know, I can see the appeal, but in terms of time management, you just want to learn practically you want to learn the most powerful and flexible opener for the least amount of time spent learning, and that you can use the most amount of time, like that you can use like basically every time. So the answer, which is my kind of like actual opinion theory part, I don't even follow this, but I think any of like the TD openers like MS2 or Gamashiro, except for C-Spin, it's just optimal, right? Because okay, this is a part of the video where you like stop like pretending this is like a guide, but and this is more like me just kind of positing something that I hope you can all like debate me about in the comments. But like a C-Spin opener, like a MS2 or like Gamashiro, I guess, you can just use it as like a very clean opener. You do the TD, and that C-Spin is actually a fairly common shape. That's probably a bit of a stretch to call it an intuitive opener, but it leaves you with a very clean stack, and it can also go into a DPC loop, and it's also very easy to learn. So that's my case, right? So, but that doesn't need to be the same answer for you. Honestly, I think just like learning like stick spin, TKI, PCO, or just like Gamma Shiro, TKI, like a stick spin, all three fairly easy / intuitive openers to learn, and you'll be fine. Like, don't overthink this. I think we also put way too much effort into thinking about openers. Finally, we're just gonna, this is kind of meme. Some opinions that I see in the community, or I don't even know why I wrote this slide, honestly. Basically just some discussion topics. I feel like TKI people, I've been thinking about it recently. I feel like people think it's not, I guess this is more like for older players. Like when I was coming up in the game, like it was kind of like undisputed that TKI is the best opener, and I mean every single like good player will do TKI, but I would kind of challenge that it's the very best opener. There are use cases for others to do when you get early eye. There's the only do openers that kill theory, which is the like Ben NXT opener theory. This basically says that you should always do openers that give you, if like openers don't matter because they become a smaller part of the game as you keep playing, then you should just like only do an opener that will try to kill your, like has a chance to kill your opponent. Just do something that really big, like do a loop opener that has the highest % chance to kill if your opponent happens to mess up during the opening phase. And yeah, that's that. And then I think my opinion that's like kind of in the middle of those two is to do a TD opener, which is just as clean as, or like ends up with a fairly clean stack as like a TKI, but also has the potential to kill if you want to go into a DPC. And the reason I don't think it's always optimal to go for that DPC is that like, you know, counter spiking is the thing, and also sometimes there's like a mental aspect to not wanting to start the game off on as fast of a pace as possible. Like there's it's kind of more like wishy-washy at that level. But I don't think everyone wants to like constantly play a breakneck. It just is tiring. And that's what starting the game off with a ton of clean will do to you. But yeah, that's about it for my opener theory video. I don't think it was that. It was pretty rambly, honestly, but I guess I should probably just, you know, stop it for now. But you know, leave any questions you have in the comments, or like find me on Discord. Yeah, see ya.